Good afternoon, it's Wednesday, September 26th. I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid has hit back at the opposition spokesman on education, Reverend Ronald Thwaite's call for parents who bought GSAT textbooks to be refunded. Mr. Reid's comment is the latest in the recent controversy about primary exit profile, PEP books and GSAT book lists issued by some schools. More in this report from TVJ's O'Shane Masters.
Reverend Thwaite and his team, I'm appealing to them to be very responsible and stop politicizing this matter.
That call from Education Minister Ruel Reid regarding suggestions from his opposition counterpart for parents to be refunded for buying GSAT books. The matter came to the fore after schools issued book lists with books that were for the Grade 6 Achievement Test GSAT and not the Primary Exit Profile PEP. The decision angered parents as they say it was clear that there was no discussion between schools and the Education Ministry as to the step forward. However, the ministry denied those claims as it said they had warned schools against issuing book lists for grade 6 students due to a change in the national standards curriculum.
There could have been some miscommunication in terms of some of the books that the parents may not have had to purchase, but to the extent that they have purchased them, we have now said that they can incorporate them very creatively in terms of preparation.
In fact, Mr. Reid believes the situation created by the book list issue is in itself an opportunity to build critical thinking skills. He says while the ministry is not encouraging parents to buy any more of these books, the schools should not tell parents to throw them out.
If you have found yourself and your parents in that situation, because I know I'm being taped as well, I'm saying that is what PEP also called for. PEP called for creativity and innovation. When I think of coming to Montego Bay, there are several roads that I could contemplate. There are different routes that you can take to arrive at the same destination.
He has therefore rejected the opposition's call for a refund.
When I look at the benefits of the primary exit profile by developing very early the critical thinking, high order skills in our students, that will inure for better performance at the secondary level and get them to higher education and get our entire workforce to be more equipped for the 21st century and beyond.
Mr. Reid, who was addressing teachers in Region 4 on Tuesday, said by his assessment, the teachers are ready for the PEP examinations this academic year. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And the Education Minister is calling on schools to be more vigilant in the hiring of persons who will have direct contact with students. Mr. Reid's comments follows an incident where 18 students of the Duckenfield Primary School in St. Thomas were given unprescribed pills by an unauthorized person. The students fell ill and were taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital for treatment. Some of the affected students complained of abdominal pain and drowsiness.
From our reports so far, there have been no negative impact, and the investigation shows that the transaction did not in fact take place on the premises of the school but close to the school. Unfortunately, it is a person who the students are in fact familiar with. The youngster was a coach for about 3 months prior. So the students themselves also need to be far more discriminating of making good decisions, and the whole notion of performance enhancing drug is certainly something that we are not going to condone in our culture. So I'm using this as an opportunity and a learning moment to all our students, all our student athletes. That is not something that the government could possibly support.
And as the Education Ministry gets set to improve the nutritional intake of students island-wide, some principals in South Manchester are already highlighting the success of one initiative which has been having a positive impact on the well-being of their students. They say the new measure has helped to make the life of these children better. TVJ's O'Shane Masters reports.
Schools in southern Manchester are hailing the success of the breakfast program, which was instituted by their Member of Parliament, Michael Stewart. They say since the introduction of the program, significant improvements have been realized in their school population as it relates to academics. Students in South Manchester, which mostly focuses on farming, would often be absent from classes to help their families on their farms. However, Since the introduction of the program last year, a number of principals in the area have also reported successes in the turnout rate.
Since we have the breakfast program, we find that we have maintained a steady attendance of around about 94% as a rate. So we are very thankful for that and hope that this type of initiative will continue to benefit our school and the community of Newport in general.
Students have been able to benefit from this breakfast program. We have seen an increase in attendance, especially on the days when we serve the meals. And in fact, most, if not all, our students in the school population have benefited from this breakfast program.
One of the very important things for us was that we were able to attract the students to come out early because we served the breakfast before school call, and we were amazed to see how many students made the effort to be at school on time so that they could get the breakfast before. Another important feature that we were happy for is that we were able to have parents volunteering to come out and help prepare the breakfast. It's a win-win for the school, it's a win-win for the community and the students who attend Cross Keys High School.
The Member of Parliament says he's looking to improve the program in the coming years.
South Manchester is a farming community. We have a lot of melons, we have a lot of cantaloupe and other fruits which can be used, provide juice and other supplements for the students. So I would want to encourage my farmers. We will meet with them and looking at the way forward as relates to that aspect there to improve the nutritional support, healthy eating and dieting for them.
Rashid Masters, TVJ News.
The government has doubled down on its rhetoric that the profit-sharing deal signed recently with bauxite company Midday is better than accepting a levy. Opposition spokesman on mining, Philip Paulwell, called the agreement a bad deal because, in his estimation, the country would earn less from the profit-sharing agreement than it would if the full bauxite levy was to be implemented. However, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Finance, Favour Williams, defended the profit-sharing agreement, and she said why.
Yes, we know that bauxite prices have recovered, but when you look at the reasons for the recovery, you have to question how sustainable this recovery might be. And so there are adverse events globally that have helped to strengthen prices, and these include a major refinery in Brazil that is operating at 50% capacity after the plant was flooded. You've had strike activity in a major plant in Australia, and then you had sanctions that the U.S. imposed that affected Russian-owned companies such as UC Rusal that owns Windalco.
Ms. Williams was speaking at the post-cabinet press briefing this morning. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, is echoing the call for cooperation from citizens in Clarendon. Public cleansing manager for the South Central region, Sheldon Smith, says Clarendon has the most illegal dumps in Jamaica. While speaking at a town hall meeting in Clarendon recently, Mr. Smith urged residents to use proper containers to store their garbage.
People just go by and they see one person put a little garbage at the corner of the road, and everybody leave their house, they carry this little bag with them and they just seal it right at that spot. You need at your gate a container that can hold 2 to 3 weeks garbage at your gate. If we got a little bit more cooperation from the citizens with regards to containerization, putting your garbage together properly, putting it in a drum and putting it together properly, you'd have a lot better service, a much better service from us.
Mr. Smith laments that the parish has no landfill, which results in the long turnaround time for the garbage trucks. However, he added that the government is making plans to implement a transfer centre in the parish.
After NEPA and everyone, they have done their restructuring and their checks and so on, they are not seeing where it is fit to put a landfill to store garbage here in Clarendon. So we are putting in place now, the government, the minister, we are looking for a place to put in a proper transfer center where we'll take all the garbage there and then we can transport it to Mandeville, which will make it much easier.
The Anoto Bay Police in St. Mary have smashed a motor vehicle stealing ring and arrested 3 persons in a new drive to clamp down on this illegal activity. An operation was carried out in Enfield on Monday. Car and pickup truck parts were seized at a house. A Toyota Probox motor car, which had been operating as a public passenger vehicle and was in the process of being scrapped, was also seized.
Following up on that initiative, the police went further, where on Tuesday, September 25th, a motor vehicle that was stolen in the Portland division was recovered in the Anota Bay area. So far, we have taken 3 persons into custody pending further investigations. The initiative of recovering these parts and stolen vehicle is a joint effort between the Portland Police and the St. Mary Division.
Inspector Campbell says the Portland Police Division is also seeing an increase in stolen motor vehicles. He is encouraging persons to alert the police when they observe strange vehicles in their community. The Association of Local Government Authorities of Jamaica has expressed concern that crime may derail local and national development plans. The association's president, Winston Mara, who was speaking with TVJ News on Tuesday, emphasized the group's full support of the government's crime-fighting initiatives. TVJ's Krista Campbell reports.
Crime once again topping the agenda at Monday's executive meeting of the Association of Local Government Authorities of Jamaica, ALGA-J. President Winston Maraj says the association supports the measures the government has been taking to curtail crime. He raised concern about the impact of crime on the country's development plan, Vision 2030.
We understand fully that with the level of crime that we have, it might somehow deter us from achieving our sustainable development goals, which we need to. And so we are 100% behind any initiative being taken by the government at this time in reducing crime.
Over 100 murders recorded so far in Clarendon since the start of the year. The ALGA-J president, who is also the mayor of Maypen, echoed the calls for a state of emergency to be declared in the parish.
As the zones of special operations and the extension that was given recently in Parliament, and also the state of public emergency, which we see as very necessary in order to control the level of crimes in the country. And we are hoping that as we go along, that the government will extend all of these areas into the other areas that are troubled at this time. And we were thinking of Clarendon as well.
A member of the Internal and External Committee of Parliament also put the matter of rising crime in Clarendon to the police commissioner on Tuesday.
Could a state of emergency legitimately be called in Clarendon, Westmoreland? Absolutely. So Westmoreland is high, Clarendon is high. Then within the context of Area 4, we know that Kingston East has a problem, St. Andrew South has a problem. We're doing various things. We're doing other operations other than SOE to try and bring them all down. So you're not going to see, it's not a spike that's going to cause all of a sudden we do a state of emergency. There's a lot of planning that needs to be done.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Former East Central St. Catherine Member of Parliament Arnaldo Brown wants Portmore's mayor to be granted more powers in running the affairs of the municipality. He stated his position while addressing a congregation at a church service in honor of former Mayor George Lee.
This is a model that is yet to be mapped onto other municipalities in Jamaica. So Portmore in that sense was a pilot. I don't want to use the word guinea pig. And I quite frankly think that the experiment has been good so far. And yes, there are more work to be done. But I believe that what Portmore has demonstrated is that having a directly elected mayor is something that is desirable. But now we have to make that mayor an executive mayor and not just the person who presides over the meetings of the council.
Mr. Brown also called on Portmore's locally elected officials to enshrine George Lee's legacy when the time comes to name the new municipality building. The council is to be housed in a new $190 million modern administrative building as of 2019.
The amenities that we have now is a legacy of George Lee. And when that municipal building is completed, we will have to congratulate George Lee for the work that he would have done to contributing to that.
And here now is a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at hypertension, also known as high blood pressure.
The treatments would, of course, be weight loss, change your diet, having more fruits and vegetables, lots of water, vigorous exercise, at least I recommend 4 or 5 times, 30 minutes, and then being active. Sitting for long periods puts you greater at risk for various problems.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Here is how you can manage your hypertension or high blood pressure. Lessen alcohol consumption. Lessen sodium intake. Avoid smoking. Avoid stress. And do more physical activity.
In sports, 7-time Caribbean champion and many-time JRDC's Driver of the Year, David King Somerville, will be missing in action for the Heroes of Speed Racing meet on October 15 at the Dover Raceway. This comes after Somerville refused to pay a fine handed down by the JMMC disciplinary panel for causing a crash last year in the first leg of the Caribbean Championship in Jam West.
David Somerville Jr.'s failure to pay a fine of Jamaican $75,000 has resulted in his competition driver's license being suspended indefinitely by the disciplinary committee of the JMMC effective July 3, 2018. The country's top circuit race driver subsequently appealed to the JMMC on July 31 and received a letter on August 3 indicating the appeal had been thrown out. That resulted in the 7-time Caribbean champion missing the Independence of Speed meet in August. And with the Somerville not willing to pay the fine, he looks set to also miss the October 15 race meet at the Dover Raceway.
I feel that at this point, if I actually accept the penalty and pay it, and it's one thing, the monetary value, but it's just, I'd be agreeing to what they've done, and I really don't agree with it. I think they've flawed so many times, even in this last part with actually issuing a penalty, a money penalty on a warning, which was the initial stewards. The stewards had issued a warning to start with, and now they've taken that, changed the warning to another term, and then added a cash penalty.
Somerville has alleged that the JMMC's disciplinary panel is using him as a scapegoat for the actions of another driver.
I actually think it's all because of the situation with Doug, and it's to save face and embarrassment. But, for a racing actual judgment call, even if it was in that, a fault call, and I know I wasn't the only one at fault for sure, it can't be a $75,000 penalty. It's not logical.
In the meantime, Stephen Gunter, the chairman of the JMMC and former manager of the Somerville racing team, says the ball is in David's court.
That's entirely up to David. The reason why David's license was suspended is that he refused to pay a fine. Once he pays the fine by rules, he's automatically going to get back his license.
Recently, the new chairman of the JRDC, Peter McConnell, appealed to the JMMC as well as Somerville and Gore to reach an agreement in the interest of the sport.
I'm really hoping that Doug and David will be at the next race meet, and because they are a very, very important part of the show, and we definitely want them there. But they also have to do their part to make sure they're there. And I'm going to call them out right now to say, show me your commitment to this sport and do everything you need to do to be at the event.
Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Reyna.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Remember, the Primetime News package is at 7 this evening. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.